This year, there's one model with a snake on the fender and 428 cubic inches up front. And as far as we could tell in the short time we played with it at Fomoco's test track, the Cobra Torino is one wild supercar. We were first introduced to the '69 Torino Cobra back in the early part of August at Ford's test track in Dearborn, Michigan. Even the Cobra insignias were not ready yet, thus the reason for the decals. With this little muscle-bound version, Fomoco is coming a little closer to the super speedway car. In fact, at the rate they're going, a Torino owner will soon have to take his car into Holman Moody for servicing. Our tester was a silver blue, and as you can see, very few changes were made on the surface. On the insignia, the Cobra is coiled on a set of wheels. Obviously, this snake is out to catch the Roadrunner. This hood scoop with a 428 Cobra Jet placard on the side is probably the quickest way to spot one. And it's for real, ramming air right down into the four throats of that big carburetor. And here's the 428 cubic inches of TNT that gets this Torino away from the green light quick. It puts out 335 advertised horsepower at 5,600 RPMs, plus a husky 445 foot-pounds of torque, with a 10.7 to 1 compression ratio. And that's enough to rattle your back teeth whenever you decide to let the clutch fly. Has enjoyed basking in the #1 sales spotlight for many years. Every time we wheel a new Impala onto our test track, we can't help but wonder why. Is it styling, performance, engineering? Well, admittedly, Chevy has more loyal, dyed-in-the-wool fans than any other automotive producer, many of which would probably buy anything that comes off the assembly line, as long as the name Chevrolet is stamped on it. Well, they seem to have the uncanny ability to come up each year with new ideas and innovations that, in many cases, become standards in the industry. In the past, the Impala has never failed to impress us. However, with this 1969 offering, we feel that Ford and Chrysler just might woo many of these Chevy fans away from the camp. Changes in the '69 Impala are a little slow to grab you. However, the sheet metal is all new. Chassis and suspension components remain virtually the same. In the event the car looks longer to you, it is 1 inch longer. Perhaps the most noticeable exterior feature is the elliptical wheel openings. The rear bumper houses square tail lights, and the back window is now in a convex shape. The nose on the Imp sports a one-piece loop-style bumper surrounding a precision-molded grille. Concealed headlights are now available only on the Caprice. These Goodyear polyglass tires are at least half the reason we were able to stay on the track. They're mounted on a 119-inch wheelbase. Chevrolet offers one of the widest engine choices in the field, but this one couldn't punch its way through a wet Kleenex. We had a 396 cubic inch V8 with one 2-barrel Rochester carburetor delivering 265 horsepower. Chevrolet seating is and always has been very comfortable. The new fabric selections and colors for '69 are real eye poppers. If you have to have them, I suppose these headrests are as good as any. Frankly, we don't like them. The steering wheel is adjustable and handled well. The horn buttons are on each side of the padded center bar. Instrumentation, what there was of it, was clear and easy to read. However, there's a light to tell you just about anything you want to know. There should have been a light to tell us we were moving. It took 4.5 seconds to get to 30. Our driver almost put his foot through the floorboard on the second run, but it still took 8.7 seconds to make. On our 0 to 60 run, there was quite a bit of anxiety. We didn't know if it'd go that fast. But 13.7 seconds later, we made it. We used the full quarter-mile strip to coax it up to 75. That happened in 19.8 seconds. We had drum brakes on the after wheels with discs up front. In our entire time on the braking course, heat buildup was not excessive, nor was pedal fade. From 30 miles an hour, it took 38 feet to stop. The springs on this Impala were soft, and we thought the nose would dive right into the asphalt. From 45, it stopped in 67 feet. These brakes were pulling to the left severely. However, we don't make adjustments. We drive them as they are and show them like it is. From 60 miles an hour, 155 feet. This new Impala seemed to have a softer ride than last year's model. Up front, there were wishbones and coil springs. In the rear, a live axle with coil springs. We've always liked Chevy's power steering. It allows a good feel of the road. When coming into a corner at average speed, steering is about neutral. But when you push it through, hard understeer sets in, and the front end washes out. With our lack of power up front, it was difficult to drive through any corner. The Chevrolet division now employs a computer to determine spring rates. When our tester went down the line to get its legs, the dials must have been set at the softest point. We like the road-hugging security of a beefier suspension system. However, Chevy continues to maintain quality craftsmanship and construction. Removal of the vent windows gives a far more spacious feeling, and the ride is extremely quiet. While we found this car to be underpowered and a little too soft, the new Impala styling is superb. And with a 427 under the hood, it's an altogether different animal. From the Corvette to the Caprice, Chevy tries to be all things to all people. Maybe that's why they're number one. Body style was the result of last year's wind tunnel testing. It's aerodynamically clean, it's good looking, and they repeated it for this year's offering. This Mopar pony is available in two forms, the Challenger and the Rally Challenger. The latter, we feel, will command most of the sales attention. Ours was equipped with a snappy 340 cubic inch V8 with 4-barrel carburation, coupled to a torque flight transmission and a 323 axle ratio. This 8-banger came out of the hole well. Throttle response was good. 30 miles an hour took 4.5 seconds. The console-mounted slapstick shifter was a delight. We had 50 miles an hour in 7.2. Winding up through the gears produced excessive engine noise with some vibration felt through the steering wheel. 70 miles an hour came after 13.4 seconds. Our car had power front discs, and they do make a difference. It dumped the heat rapidly. 30 miles an hour ate up 47 feet. Nosedive did not seem as pronounced from the inside as it did on film, which seemed a little odd for a car with strong suspension like this. From 50, 102 feet. The brakes were cold on this 70-mile-an-hour stop, and our driver brought the Challenger to a halt in 211 feet with the usual Chrysler rear axle hop. Pedal fade was hardly noticeable. Through the pylon course, we found the steering response to be excellent. However, the power assist left little or no road feel. Returnability was slow. Body lean with this heavy-duty suspension system was very slight. Even when we pushed the speedometer up 10 miles an hour faster, stability remained good, as you can tell by this action freeze. Handling is far better in the rally model. The strong suspension on the Rally includes heavy-duty shock absorbers as well as a front sway bar, and a rear sway bar comes with a 340-inch engine. We also had the F70-14 bias-belted tires, remote control racing mirrors, along with rally wheels. We felt that the clean styling of the Challenger was cluttered by some of the exterior cosmetics like side scoops and the power bulge hood. Beefier leg muscles made for good handling during high-speed cornering. However, the ride was rough, and to some passengers could be considered very objectionable, especially in the rear. But then anyone in the rear would be so busy looking for a place to put their legs that they might not notice the ride. Front seats, on the other hand, were very comfortable. Chrysler has a new full foam, computer-designed bucket seat that really fits, offering good back as well as lateral support. To sum it up, if you're looking for a smooth, quiet ride with a spacious interior, this Challenger will not be your next car. However, if pony cars turn you on and you like a spirited performer, this Rally just might punch your butt. Three cubic inches, fed by a 4-barrel carburetor. And all the action up here is funneled to the rear wheels via a 4-speed manual transmission. Now, if you think this 1970-watt Dodge Challenger is hot, you're right. But it offers more than just a pile of muscle. The Dodge boys put a lot of engineering know-how into this one, and it paid off in just about every department. Our driver twisted this Challenger every way but loose, and it looked like this. With tight money and insurance premiums that are out of sight, the curtain could be falling on the supercar era. But nonetheless, they're still pure fun. And this Dodge Challenger has to be a top contender for Pony Car of the Year. It looks an awfully lot like last year's model. But then, what's wrong with that? In most pony cars, this 383 engine would cause heavy characteristics in the nose. But the Challenger is built to match the output of the bigger engines. In fact, with the 340 engine up front, the handling difference is hardly noticeable. When we brought our pony up to the line, it was happy time. And our speedometer found 30 miles an hour in 2.8 seconds. That Hurst shifter was so smooth, we thought it was mounted in butter. On our second run, we nailed 45 in 4.7. When we popped the clutch on our third time out of the hole, those big rubber donuts bit hard into the asphalt, and that 8-piston screamer had us to 70 miles an hour in 8 seconds flat. Our best shift point was around 5,600 RPMs. The car not only came out of the hole like its tail was on fire, but it negotiated the pylon course with comparative ease. After the first run, we shortened the distance between the cones by 10 feet. And the Challenger still pushed through at 50 miles an hour. Rebound, as well as recovery, were excellent. Braking in our test car left quite a bit to be desired. At 30 miles an hour, it took 49 feet to stop. We had power-assisted discs up front with 10-inch drums in the rear. From 50 miles an hour, it took 86 feet to grind to a halt. The brakes pulled to the right, and noticeably so on high-speed stops. After 5 consecutive 70-mile-an-hour panic stops, heat buildup was intense. The pedal faded. This stop took 211 feet. What it lacked in the braking department, it made up in cornering. This little pony was beautiful in the turns. Our driver ran it hard and deep into the pockets. And with that 383 cubic incher up front, He brought it through in a four-wheel drift with power on. This pony twisted through the corners on unequal length A-arms, longitudinal torsion bars, tubular shocks, and an anti-sway bar. In high-speed turns and with all the slack out of the suspension, body lean was excessive, but it didn't affect roadability. The 71 Challenger is one of the best pony cars we've tackled yet. Changes on the surface were few. However, underneath, there were several, and all for the best.
You know, if a big luxury car is too much for you, but yet you'd like a little more room than a pony car offers, the boys at Lincoln Mercury suggest this intermediate Cyclone GT. Our test car came with a standard 351 cubic inch V8, topped with a two-barrel carburetor. That's a far cry from the racing version, but nonetheless a fair performer.
The Ford Torino outsells this Mercury Cyclone by 3-1. A glaring fact that for some time now has been a thorn in the Lincoln Mercury sales charts. They're quieter, give a better ride, and invariably offer more costly trim inside and out. But the buying public hasn't caught on to the bargain yet. Our GT had the standard 351 cubic inch V8 topped with a two-barrel carb. Off the line, this car had some pretty respectable times. We got to 30 miles an hour in 2.9 seconds. Our GT had the standard 3-speed automatic transmission. This power combination probably won't win many free hamburgers at the drive-in drags, but we still ran it up to 45 in 5.6 seconds. For the family that likes a little sportier than usual transportation, this is it. The G78 by 14 white sidewall tires are another standard offering. When we left the line for the third time, they bit hard, and our needle hit 60 in 9.2 seconds. The base retail on this Cyclone is $3,646. It costs the dealer $29.71, and for some number in between, you can own it, plus accessories, of course. One item we would suggest is the cross-country ride package, consisting of heavy-duty front and rear shocks, heavy-duty springs, and a front stabilizer bar. Rebound and recovery were fair with the standard suspension. For brakes, our GT came with drums in the rear and power-assisted discs up front. From 30 miles an hour, it took 47 feet. As the brakes got hotter, the pedal got spongier, and our 50-mile-an-hour stop ate up 109 feet. After 5 70-mile-an-hour panic stops, the brakes were hot enough to melt the fenders. Pedal fade was excessive. On this one, our driver stood on it. 212 feet later, the car came to a halt. In the cornering department, our test car was exciting, to say the least, mainly because we didn't know if it'd make it through the turn. With the front wheels cramped all the way to the lock and the nose almost to the ground, the rear wheels were pretty determined to drive us in a straight line. There wasn't enough power up front to kick the rear end out, and the front end was very soft. The heavy-duty suspension package is almost a must. As you can see, in the reverse spins, body lean was excessive and recovery a little rough. From a styling standpoint, it's there. But for our money, it needs quite a few performance options. And Mercury has them. Enough to build yourself a great car.
Well, there it is, friends, our test of the standard Cyclone GT, 351 cubic inches, two-barrel carburetor. As we mentioned, a little on the docile side, but a fair performer. Now, in the weeks to come on Car and Track, for those of you that like your cars a little more violent, we'll do a 429 version. There's quite a difference. Boys have been burning the midnight oil over the drawing boards again. I think you'll have to admit that this is the prettiest one yet. But you know, it doesn't all end in the styling department either. You see, Dodge engineers have picked up a ton of know-how and garnered over 1 million miles of racing. and consequently, a definite improvement in the breed. In fact, our prediction is that this 1971 Dodge Charger will be seen in racetrack victory circles from coast to coast.
When we first met the Charger, it was like pulling the handle for an instant jackpot, and our feelings have not changed since the first introduction. For our money, it's the best styling job to come out of Detroit for 71. When Dodge popped this one out of the hole, there was evidence that someone was doing more than copying the General Motors drawing boards. Of course, while you're dreaming about owning this one, the window sticker snaps you back to reality in a hurry. Ours had numbers on it that read a little over $5,000. With a 318-inch mill up front, our car was no Hamtramck hot rod. 30 miles an hour took 3.1 seconds. This engine was the standard offering in our tester, and as such, we thought it might be considered as a typical family investment. It ground out 45 miles an hour in 6 seconds flat. A slapstick shifter controlled a very good torque flight automatic transmission in our Charger, and running through the gears was as simple as a Sunday school picnic. 10.3 seconds after we left the line, we nailed 60 miles an hour. While running the pylon course, we were glad we had the small engine. This same car with a 440 engine under the hood is not nearly as nimble through the cones. The weight ratio with a small engine is more near normal. We felt that body lean was excessive. However, it did not seem to affect the handling too much. Rebound and recovery were fair. For stoppers, our test car had 10.7-inch vented disc brakes up front with 11 by 2.5-inch cast iron drums in the rear. From 30 miles an hour, it took 52 feet to come to a halt. After a half hour on the braking course, the pedal was spongy. The brakes were hot, and our 50-mile-an-hour stop ate up 112 feet. In our 70-mile-an-hour panic stops, the brakes faded noticeably. Quite a bit of corrective steering was necessary to keep it in a straight line. And our driver felt the rear end would shake itself right out from under the car. This stop took 208 feet.